Okay, we got the Vikings and the Panthers. Vikings side, they finally came up big when they really needed to. They had to win this game. 0-3 would be a death knell for them, and they're too talented for this, so came up big. I didn't think they had it in them, but they did. Farad made a couple of big plays. Berrien's earning that paycheck finally. Vijanti Shenko, however you say it, he's the tight end on Minnesota. He caught a touchdown pass to take him off the S list of a couple of Minnesotaites. He's the guy who would drop the touchdown against the Colts. Maybe he's back in some people's good graces. And defense showed up. They played a great game, getting a lot of pressure, shutting down the run, containing guys like Steve Smith and Jonathan Stewart. So Minnesota, they had to win this game, and I think the desperation probably pushed them along a little bit, and they did win. So we'll see where things go from there. As for Carolina, you think a little bit now. First of all, Carolina could not do what they wanted to do the last 2 years, mainly because they didn't have the running game they wanted. This year, it looked like they had it, and in this game, it was nowhere to be found. Of course, the Vikings' run defense is historically good, really, when you have guys like the Williams brothers, E.J. Henderson. You know the guys. I mean, they can play run defense. So, we'll see. We'll see. And Jake Delhomme, his stats are very tepid so far this year. I noticed this. He's not playing bad or anything, but his stats are very flat, and, you know, it makes you think, because he did have the Tommy John surgery, and he hasn't quite played like he used to. He only has 1 touchdown through 3 weeks, so hopefully he can develop that rapport with Smith and, you know, get things back together. I think Carolina will be fine. We got Atlanta and Kansas City. I might have heard wrong, but I think Kansas City was trying to run the option offense with Tyler Thigpen. And, you know, I didn't see too many highlights of this game from the Chiefs' perspective, simply because the Chiefs did very little highlight worthy. But if that's true, well, let's just say I'm starting to suspect that Herm Edwards is trying to tank the season. You know, Matt Ryan, I'm starting to like Matt Ryan. I'm starting to hope for him to succeed. I don't know how good he is, but for some reason I'm starting to hope that he succeeds, because I don't know, there's just something very likable about him. The first pass of his professional career was a 70-yard touchdown. In this game, he throws a 70-yard touchdown. He took his licks in the Bucs game, but he came back strong in this game, and there's something likable about that. So I'm kind of hoping he does well. And, you know, as for the Falcons, I don't consider them a threat yet. Looking at who they beat up on, I don't see it yet. But you got to say something about them. I mean, the defense is forcing some turnovers. Roddy White is continuing his maturation process. Michael Turner is really tearing things up. Turner's playing awesome right now. And this comes as a surprise to me, who thought he was going to go off and be the equivalent to Matt Schaub. And as for the Chiefs, one thing that surprised me when I looked at this game later was that Larry Johnson actually played very well. And I somewhat right now question his dedication to the Chiefs, so I'm impressed. Other than that, what are you going to say? I kind of hope they trade Larry Johnson, simply because I get the sense, I'm not guaranteeing this, I get the sense he doesn't really want to be there. And I don't think the Chiefs include him in their future plans. And maybe Tony Gonzalez too, but I know he loves Kansas City, so it's cool if he wants to stay there, but you're talking about a guy who doesn't have a playoff win in his career that's winding down, so we'll see what Kansas City does in their attempt to rebuild. Bills, Raiders, Trent Edwards, Team Trent continues to impress in the fourth quarter. Marshawn Lynch continues to look very good. If you look at his stats, they're not mind-boggling, but he's productive. He'll put together a couple good carries a game that'll help put your team over the edge. So he's better than some of you fantasy owners might think, just by looking at the stats. And, you know, Buffalo came back to win this one. A couple nice plays from their defense. And, you know, it was a Raiders meltdown. It was. But even so, this team's 3-0. They look to be the top dog in the division right now, so we'll see where the Buffalo Bills go. I do think they're going to win this division, actually. As for Oakland, well, we all know that Al Davis, Lane Kiffin, and Rob Ryan, all these guys seem to hate each other. So when they melt down like that, it's not terribly surprising. Russell, I kind of feel bad that he's stuck in the middle of all this. You can see his stats; they're not good. I mean, he had the one big play to Johnny Lee Higgins, which was a nice play, but he seems like I liked him coming out of college after what he did to Brady Quinn in the Sugar Bowl. I really liked the look of him, and I hoped he was going to succeed, but I don't know. I mean, they didn't have Darren McFadden very much in this game, so. But I see Oakland being another one of those messy teams this year. Lane Kiffin should be fired any week, and generally everybody just hates each other right now. Bucks, Bears. I got a chance to watch most of this game on NFL Replay. One of my favorite things about NFL Network. There's nothing like catching a good NFL Replay. So, this game, it was a curious affair. Probably not at all what you expected, but it had a little bit of everything you might like. You had fights, and that might not be your thing, but it is an element of football. You had plenty of brawls, actually. Greasy, the guy who keeps getting waived all over the NFL. Guy's a warrior. What else can you say after a performance like that? I think it was, what happened was, at halftime, or at some point in the game, Gruden just went up to Greasy and said, "Look, we can't run worth a shit, so I'm going to put the game on your arm and just tell you to throw it on pretty much every play." And he did. He almost broke the record. I was rooting for him to break the record, but it didn't happen. And you know you're good when you do it with guys like Antonio Bryan and Maurice Stovall and Michael Clayton and Jeremy Stevens, and was Alex Smith even playing the tight end? There's a tight end named Alex Smith in Tampa Bay. So, gotta give a lot of credit to him. Bucks can't win like that every week. But I do think this is going to be an unfortunate sign of things to come for Tampa, because Gruden's going to think he's a genius. He's going to keep Greasy in the rest of the season. Keep Garcia on the bench. Keep making Garcia matter and matter. And at some point, Greasy's going to fall apart. I'm sorry, but he's just not good enough to be consistent week after week. He'll be good for spurts like he was in this game, but it won't last forever. And then where is he going to turn to? Not to Garcia, I'll tell you that. So hopefully he can patch up that relationship, because I don't want to see Garcia traded to the Patriots. Because that's kind of what I see coming. I don't want that. Bears, defense, looking a little old. Can't hold those leads. They get leads. They can't hold them. Offensively, you gotta say Orton finally threw a pass longer than 15 yards. And there's something to be said there, because he does not have a very strong arm. Not a very good arm. So he's starting to get that down. And really, the interception he threw to Barrett Rood in the end zone, can't put that on him. Barrett Rood made an awesome play to steal it away from Forte. Speaking of Forte, Forte is playing really well this season, so it almost looks like the Bears team that went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but their defense gave it up at the end, and then in overtime, there was the controversial roughing personal foul call, and I don't agree with it, but personally, I don't think referees should throw flags in situations where there's an all-out brawl. I think they need to throw people, because that's not playing football. That's just assaulting someone. So I don't think it should have penalties regarding to the game. I think it should have penalties regarding the person, if that makes sense. And, well, then they looked really old on the last drive, and maybe they got hosed a little bit, but such is the nature of this game. Texans, Titans, I don't got a lot to say here. I continue to believe that Hurricane Ike will sink the Texans to a 2 or 3 win season and a top 5 pick in the draft. So, sucks for them, because they're better than that. Steve Slayton looked real nice, though. Matt Schaub continuing to look like a $50 million bust. I really wish they would start Rosenfels, because he's better. Titans 3-0, looking good, but be wary of Kerry Collins.